Hello, everyone. This is Cody Lee of BlackCatBooks.org, author of I, the Dragon, Cruel and Beautiful, Rabbit Hole, King Dio, and the upcoming Lauren Frey. I recently played through Arkham Asylum, Batman Arkham Asylum, on Xbox One this past weekend. I picked it up again after a long hiatus and went ahead and basically went through the entire game on hard difficulty. It was an enjoyable experience for the most part. I don't love the game or anything. I don't think it's Game of the Year 2009 or whatever. I don't think it's particularly great. I don't think it's the best Batman game. I don't think it's the best superhero game ever made. But I do reasonably enjoy it for what it is. It's a mediocre Batman game that had a that caught on due to like the Batman craze at the time. Okay, fine. I don't care about that. Like it's fine if you like the game. Like my problem with it is always like how overhyped it actually was. But I think over the years it's not really as beloved as it used to be. So I immediately transitioned over to Arkham City, and I did this on the same stream. And I initially the bits I played of it were actually pretty positive. I thought like the open environments were a lot more pretty, were a lot more beautiful. Like I like the color scheme, I like the character designs, I like the combat a little bit better. It's a lot faster. I like the implementation of a lot of the different villains a lot more. Joker, I think, has the least amount of presence in this one than he does in the entire trilogy, which is very, very welcome. I really do get after Arkham Knight, I have just started hating the character. I really have. Um, I I initially had really positive impressions of Arkham City after like talking all this shit about how I don't really like it, how I think it's trash, and upon playing it a little bit more off stream, yeah, I was 100% right about everything. Like some minor improvements aside, Asylum is far superior to City in basically every way. And I think the best way to describe it, and I've talked a little bit about this in other streams and other videos, but like Arkham City is bloated. Like when it comes to like its features and mechanics, like it doesn't it didn't really put a lot of thought into how general combat encounters will go. Because in Asylum, the entire game was kind of built around this structured, this this structure where like you're going through the game in a linear fashion, and like enemies will kind of adapt to your movements. They'll have like there'll be different areas you can hunt them down in. There'll be like obstacles you can traverse and use to your advantage. You have a wide range of tools. Like it's not the best thing ever, but it's competently done, and it really makes you feel like you have a lot of options, even though like the game is relatively simple and not all that complex, right? So what does City do? Like what does City do differently? Because City is in a wider, more open environment, like enemies are either like not scripted at all or extremely scripted. And as a result of that, there's typically only it's typically really easy to just exploit the what the game wants you to do. Like whether it's just avoiding enemies entirely or just like jumping down, like beating two guys and then opening a door. Like exploring the city in Arkham City is not fun at all. Like it's kind of like imagine if you played Spider-Man 2 for the first time, right? The original, the one on GameCube, the one that everyone loves, and like instead of like the realistic web swinging, you have like the mood swinging from the original, and like you can't go on the street. Like they didn't make any major changes to the actual gameplay, right? It kind of feels like that, right? It kind of feels like they tacked on a bunch of new obstacles to Arkham City, but expanded on the move set from the original game to the point where like Batman actually kind of feels overpowered, right? Like it's kind of ridiculous how easy combat situations are in this game, because like there's so many things you can do to just kind of like destroy your enemies with no real effort, even on hard mode. This is probably the most obvious example, right? I just went through the penguin section where like you're destroying the radar jammers, and like one of them is guarded by like four guys with guns. They're patrolling a small area. So what I did was I just dropped down there, silent took down one, walked up to the other two. They saw me, dropped a smoke bomb. They immediately stop because enemies never fire into the smoke in this game. They can't hit shit. Like when you drop a smoke bomb. And then I just silent took down them. And then all of a sudden, there's only one guy left. And one guy with a gun is incredibly manageable. Like they're really, you need at least two of them to be a threat to you in this game. So what that tells me is just they put no effort into really improving enemy AI and making them a threat to you, right? They feel, the enemies feel like monotonous, they feel boring, they don't feel all that inspired. Like there's nothing, like the game did not improve enough over Asylum where it really matters, the overall gameplay. Like everything that's like improved, like having Catwoman as a playable character, the visuals, the character models, the open environments, like it's all surface level shit. Like when you actually get down to the nitty gritty, like what actually matters, the mechanics and the engine, you find the game is not as fun to play as Asylum, right? In spite of like some major technical improvements. Now, obviously, Asylum is better than City, but City is better than Knight by a long shot. Like Knight, Arkham Knight might actually be one of the worst games I've played on the Xbox One. I'm not exaggerating when I say, like, there's not a single game I've played recently, well, I played on the console, that I hate more than this. For the Xbox One, I was like super, super conservative with my purchases. I didn't buy shit like No Man's Sky. I didn't buy like Dead Rising 4 or anything like that. Like I mostly just stuck with games that I knew I would like, or at least wanted to try. So in Arkham Knight's case, I'd finished the first two Batman games. I'd played Origins. I've played every Batman game up to this point. So I was just like, okay, I'm going to try Arkham Knight. I'm going to wait until it's like $15 on scale, and I'm going to play this game. And it's the same problem with City 1,000-fold, right? Like, it is, I don't think I've ever played such a bloated, over-designed mess in my life. Like, Arkham Knight is just a nightmare to play through, right? Like, the Batmobile is legit one of my most fucking hate that thing. I hate the way they incorporated the villains in this. I hate the plot. I hate everything they did with this game. It was a disaster of unprecedented proportions, and I don't see a lot of people talking about it in 2021. And the game is like 6 years old now, and I don't think anyone really brings it up at all. Like it was so heavily anticipated when it was coming out, and now it's not really discussed. A big drop in quality. Like they announced a spin-off, Gotham Knights. Nobody cares about that. Right? Nobody gives a shit about spin-offs, the fucking Batman. Like Knight didn't really like kill the franchise. It didn't kill the trilogy. Like it just kind of, it was always intended to be the last one, but they really did an awful job. They really did. They could have done so much with like all these characters. Really done like cool things with them. Like given them all crazy fights. Like really made it really made it feel like cool and engaging. And they couldn't do anything. They couldn't improve on what worked with Asylum. Like I think that's the way to put it. Like this is the problem with game trilogies in general. Like Tomb Raider did this. I'm sure like there are other examples. Like, developers reuse assets and animations so much that they can't really come up with anything new, right? Like playing Shadow of the Tomb Raider, it felt like I was playing Rise of the Tomb Raider again. Like, it felt like the same shit with no growth and no progression. Arkham Knight grew and progressed into, like, a complete monster compared to what it was before. Like everything good about Arkham just beating up goons and then going up to the next room to beat up more goons, maybe solving a light puzzle here and there. Completely gone by Arkham Knight. Like, legit, I think you get into, like, Batmobile fights, drive across town, get into more Batmobile fights. It's embarrassing. It is the worst. I hate it more than anything. I hate it. It was so embarrassingly bad, and not enough people give the Arkham trilogy the hate it deserves.